Hello, and welcome to the BCW, the county's largest and most diverse business membership organization with over 1,100 businesses who are current and active members. My name is Linda Tyler, Vice President of Membership and Programs, and your host today. I'd like to introduce two incredible women to our show: Leslie Lampert, owner of Ladle of Love and Love on the Run Catering, and Angela Accomand, co-owner of Golden Meals. Ladies, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thanks for having us.
Be here.
Let's talk a little bit about your businesses. Angela, tell us about Golden Meals.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I'm Angela Accomand, CEO of Golden Meals. We partner with non-for-profit organizations who have small budgets but need to feed a lot of people. So we provide organizations who may have a kitchen and already feed people but are at capacity, or ones that don't have a kitchen but may be qualifying people for, let's say, the 1115 waiver and don't currently offer meals. That's when we come in.
All right, thank you. I love that. Leslie, tell us about Ladle of Love.
First, I have to say, it's amazing, Angela. I love what you do. And thank you so much, Linda, for having us here. Angela and I are already becoming best friends.
Yes.
Ladle of Love was launched in 2003. Remember, way back then? And I was a former journalist, and among the many things that I wrote as senior editor at Ladies Home Journal magazine was the food, because I'm all about food. And so 2003 came, and I was sending soups and stews down to, afterwards to 9/11, and making some soups and stews for a family member who had cancer, and Ladle of Love was born. So opened it up in 2003. To Angela's point, it's all about healthful food, honest food. It was the first takeout food shop to explore that in Westchester. I'm very proud of that. 5 years later, we opened Cafe of Love, which again was committed to the proffering of healthful food and sourced at local farms, and we actually have our own proprietary love garden. And we had that for 11 years. And then we also make all the food for the Boys and Girls Club. We make healthful, sneaky food like mac and cheese that has butternut squash in it because it's orange, wink, wink. And then we have Love on the Run Catering. We've done everything from 700 people at One World Trade Center when it reopened to backyard barbecues. And then we have, we make a big program for Fresh Direct. We have a wholesale division. So, I'm a busy person.
Wow, the two of you really are. You're literally preparing meals for thousands of people weekly. Good, delicious, wonderful meals. I've tried Ladle of Love. I can't wait to try Golden Meals.
Me too.
So let's talk a little bit about two things. What drew you both to the culinary world, and career transitions? You've started in one field and pivoted really successfully to another. Let's talk a little bit about both.
Sure. So I'll start. I actually had a cleaning business before this with my then husband, now ex-husband. And when I left the marriage, I knew that I wanted to go and pursue something that I really loved. And food and cooking was always really important to me and something that I loved. But I had gotten on the path to healthy eating working with a nutritionist. So I didn't want to go to the French culinary, which my partner and current husband went to, and I found the Natural Gourmet Institute, who was founded by Dr. Anne Marie Colbin, and it was all about food as medicine. So I found that culinary school. I went. It was amazing. It was really a life-changing thing, and I started a whole new career being a chef. And so when I finished, I just started teaching kids and their families how to cook and eat healthy. I also cook for people with cancer, and then one thing led to the other with little catering parties, bigger catering parties, and now we're feeding upwards of 20 to 50,000 people a month. So
wow,
yeah,
wow.
With lots of room to expand.
That's a great story, and I can't wait to hear Leslie's as well. And I think the whole theme I'm hearing here is, we tend to be drawn to what we love, right? And if you find a career or an industry that you love, you give it your all. Go for it, right? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Where we're needed. And I think that's a big part of what Angela and I share. And I'm just so happy to be in the same space with you, Angela.
Me too.
And food is medicine. I mean, when Dr. William Lee came out with Eat to Beat Disease, it was a revelation for so many people out there not understanding, Dr. Mark Hyman also, that food is medicine. And so, of course, your platform, Angela, espouses that. And my platform has always been, let's proffer honest food. Let's make sure everything we make is based in real food. And, we don't use any processed foods or stabilizers or thickeners or anything like that. And we have all of our stocks are house-made, handmade. And as I said, in the months of the summer, we have a proprietary love garden in Bedford Hills where we actually have herbs and vegetables and whatnot. And so the basis of my whole business was to make sure that we were delivering incredibly healthful food, and to Angela's point, that impacts our health. Isn't just that the food is healthily made, but it impacts good wellness. It impacts wellness.
Which is mind, body, soul,
Right.
and like you say, your physical health. And I really want to acknowledge and congratulate the two of you because you've taken your business, both of your businesses, and you've given back in really powerful and meaningful ways to the community. So I want to thank you both for that because it makes a
thank you.
huge difference.
You know, I just actually spoke at a United Way event, and I spoke about giving is the best thing that we can do, because giving fills, not only is it helpful to our population, but it fills you up. And to know that we are doing what we love, what we care about, and what will impact not only ourselves, but future generations, because we cannot live without food.
Yeah.
Truly, it's a sustenance.
Yeah.
Well, so as successful entrepreneurs, tell us about your business as you've launched. You've both been in business for several years now. What do you know now that you wish you'd known sooner? Advice for those out there.
So for me, I wished I had known my weaknesses sooner. Because I think so many entrepreneurs start a business and they're excited and they're like, I offer this amazing thing. And they do. But all businesses, big, small, medium, do a SWOT analysis, because if you're only focusing on how good you are, but you're not focusing on, well, I have this weakness, and I'll share with you our weakness, right, is when I look at other bigger companies that offer medically tailored meals, some of them are conglomerates. I will probably never be that big. That's not what I'm reaching for, right? I'm really reaching for more local and working with organizations that have the same values as I do. But I had to look and say, you know what? They're shipping to people's doors. And that's something that organizations want. That's something that individual people want. And so in order for me to keep my competitive edge, I had to go out there, which I did. I found this company called Mercado. And so we're going to be up on their site. So people, hopefully by March, are going to be able to go on there and, maybe get certified for the 1115 waiver at their local community-based organization, and then be able to go on the website and say, okay, these are the meals that I want, that I qualify for, and it ships directly to their door. But we really had to look at that and find a solution, because we were like, all organizations can't take bulk amounts of food the way some organizations that we work with now do and store it and distribute it. Some of them are like, I don't have the capacity. So I'm like, okay, how can I show up better for them? But if I didn't look at my weaknesses, my growth was going to really be stagnant.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to your point, Angela, is identifying where you need to put people that have an expertise that you don't have.
Absolutely.
And being able to look at not just what your goals are, but who you have to put in your coterie to find out, to get to where you want to go. And I also want to add that I think we have to have some grace for making decisions in the context of the times in which we've made them. Some, success is retrospective. You only know what your successes were by looking back. And so having a business plan is important, but having a goal plan is a little bit different than having a business plan. And when I look back, I had a pro forma and a business plan, But I also, and I know we're going to talk about this, really had to understand the difference between brand success and business success.
My next question, you read my mind. Let's talk a little bit about the difference and the differences between the two and how they're powerful and what they mean.
You
okay,
start.
so I'll start. I've been in this business for 21 years. And what I learned is the first 5 years, I was hyper-focused on making sure the brand was recognizable and all the elements of the brand were understood by my customers. So one of the examples is when I opened the restaurant Cafe of Love, I had a big wheel of Parmigiano Reggiano on our tasting table so that when people came in, again, we eat with our eyes. Food is celebration to me. And I wanted to make sure when people came in that they felt celebrated. So, and cared for. Everybody loved the wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano. And then we had other, olives and things like that. When I looked at my P&L after the first year, I was blown away with how much it cost me for that. Mm-hmm. And so the difference, I had to change that. And I had to pull off the big wheel of Parmigiano Reggiano and put different things on there that cost less. And I know, Angela, you and I have talked deeply about food costs. And of course, we'll get more into that. But the difference is I had to look at what the cost to the bottom line was. Because it's like when people say to me, oh, we did, $100,000 this week in gross revenue. I go, okay, but what'd you put to the bottom line?
Yeah.
Because if it cost you $110,000, your business is not as successful as your brand.
That's a very good point.
Yes.
And entrepreneurs, business owners have to take a good hard look at that.
And that goes for, all businesses. It's not just the food business. It's tougher in the food business. Yeah. It's a brutal business. And we press the restart button every day because we're in the production business, not the transactional business. I've been in both. Transactional businesses, when you're using your brain, I always joke with my son-in-law who's an ER doctor, and I'm like, you had an easy day compared to me, and we have a good laugh about it. But at the end of the day, when you are producing every single day and you're the overhead in the food business is exponentially more than many other businesses, making sure that you are putting an ROI to your bottom line is essential. Yes. Because we've seen how many businesses in the food business go out of business because you go to their restaurants or you buy their food and it's fabulous, but they're not making money.
Yeah. You have to take a good hard look.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I completely agree. I can't tell you how many people, even recently, who have called me that are in the restaurant business. They know how much I've pivoted over the last 16 years of my career. And they're like, what do you think I could do? Because we're still feeling the effects in the food business of COVID, right? People really got into the trend of like eating at home more and meal prepping and they're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm like, but did you do the numbers to see that if you do that, it doesn't matter if you have, like you said, 1,000 people coming in every day. If you're not making money off of them, you may as well just stay home. And I think that's where small business owners really go wrong is like they just start, kind of getting in the fear trap. And what can I do to bring people here? And it's like, you could bring people here, but you have to make sure you're making a decent profit off of it.
So that brings to my point for an entrepreneur. How often should you do that audit where you're really looking at what am I spending and what am I bringing in? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? How often should people be doing really financial assessments and audits on their business?
I do it monthly. I don't know when you do it, but it's mostly because I am contractual work, so I contract with organizations. So it really is, a steady flow of this is what we buy every week and this is what goes out. And so I just make sure I look it over. And then I actually hired a fractional CFO a couple of years ago. So we were getting together monthly. And then I was like, this is costing me a lot of money. Like we could do this quarterly because if it was a restaurant business, maybe it would be different for me. But like I said, everything is very contractual. So I do it monthly with my business partner, my bookkeeper, and then I do it quarterly with my fractional CFO, and then a big one at the end of the year.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes great sense, especially for your platform. For my platform, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly.
Okay, fair enough. So what you're both saying is regularly.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about what was being done a few years ago, what's done now. Let's talk about food trends in general. What are some food trends that you're seeing now for 2025?
I would say meal prep.
Okay.
Meal prepping, family meals. What I'm noticing is I feel like when I go out to eat, the people who are doing really good stuff and providing really good service are really making it. And I think other people need to really evaluate the value that they're giving people, because there are some people really struggling. And I think it's because people are looking at, for myself, I'm a spender when it comes to food. Me and my husband go out to eat. It's always at least $250 because I'm sure you do the same thing, Leslie. We're a courser. We don't just have one, we're having appetizers,
And we're doing research.
Yeah.
And there you go. And honestly, I think when you go out to dinner, it's an experience.
Yes.
It's the whole
Yes.
thing, right?
And that's
it's
what people want.
an experience. It's the atmosphere, it's the menu, it's the course. If you like a glass of wine or something, it can be a delicious glass of wine. It's your company, whether it's with 1 people or 10. But you're paying for not just the food, but the experience. What about you for food trends, Leslie? What do you see?
So clean food is the word that comes into my brain, and I know we limited time, but I want to tell a quick story. Recently, I was with friends in New York City at the Polo Club, actually, and we were having, they're from L.A., and they have restaurants in L.A. and Boston. And another gentleman came along, and we were all chit-chatting, and the next thing I knew, when he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I own a food company in Westchester." "What food company?" "He works in the city. He's in real estate." I said, "Ladle of Love." He jumps out of his seat, and he said, "I love Ladle of Love. My entire refrigerator is filled with your soups from Fresh Direct." And he said, "It's the only clean soup." He used the word. "It's the only clean soup that we have experienced." And number one, and I know Angela will agree, we're in the trenches every day cooking. So to hear that somebody was impacted, that I didn't even know, was the most valuable gift to me. And so I think that word clean is really having its day right now. Of course, we've known this for a long time.
We were early to the game, but people have caught on the last few years, and they're getting serious about it.
And you were a cleaner, so So I just think that what that means is, to your point, Linda, I think celebrating is absolutely essential, particularly now with everything we've gone through over the past years. And I think that to make, the trend is making sure that the food is healthful, clean, and doesn't have all of that junk in it.
Okay, so I'll share a secret. I have a huge sweet tooth, huge. So what does someone like me do who wants to have that dessert every other day or what have you? What's a healthier option for that?
There's so many.
There are.
First of all, sweeteners are a big controversial topic. Okay, and I know there's a huge, dogma about sugar, but maple syrup is really healthful if you're looking at, and I do chia pudding is my go-to thing at night. Chia
I do monk fruit sweetener because it
So does my
doesn't
daughter.
spike. It doesn't spike the blood sugar levels.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
This is great. Thank
But
you.
chia pudding is
So chia pudding, I think 3 tablespoons is like some ridiculous thing, 8 grams of protein. I can't really remember.
and fiber.
And you put in my case, I put in almond milk, and then I sweeten it with some maple syrup.
Oh, that just sounds
And
delicious.
let me tell you something else. Frozen berries, you can either freeze your, overripe berries that they're a little mushy, freeze them. You take them out, put them in a saucepan just with a little lemon and water, and it's the most delicious topping.
I'm going to try it all. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, so I want to ask you both, because we were talking briefly, right, about the power of marketing. So as a small business owner, what's one piece of advice you would give someone listening in, like for marketing, getting the word out there, right? What do you, LinkedIn, social media, what do you suggest that, one thing, if you have one piece of advice for marketing for
me, my piece of advice, again, is pay attention to what's working. I try all kinds of things, and then I always ask people, where did you hear about me from? And then I just keep doing that one thing, and I get rid of everything else, and it saves me a whole bunch of time and money. Yeah.
Brilliant. That makes sense.
That makes really good sense.
Yeah.
I think marketing has a lot to do with also creating relationships outside
Yes.
of your business. And thank you to the BCW for that, because that really has changed the direction for me in so many ways.
Yes.
We do, LinkedIn and all the social media platforms, but relationships
Absolutely.
have been
1,000%.
and I want to get back to that, and I want to
Yes.
put that out to everybody. I don't care what business you're in, and we're not talking about quote unquote networking, because that feels a little dry to me. But creating relationships and finding out where your points of intersection are, and I have so many examples of collegial friendships that have happened, and then opportunities for me to present them with catering or
Yeah.
food at home, but you never know what your intersections are.
I love that. And that's true for almost anything in life,
Yes.
right? The relationship building, and it makes
Yeah.
a huge difference. And that's where the trust comes in.
Yeah.
That's where referrals come in. And that's where just from a professional standpoint, yes, but also a personal standpoint,
Yes.
to create those relationships.
Can I just throw something out there?
Absolutely.
Maybe, I'm just saying this, maybe the BCW could do an event where it's called relationship building instead of networking, and just see how it goes, because I do feel like words are powerful.
We say that a lot because we believe in it. We say we're here to facilitate relationship building, and networking is a piece of that. But you're right, relationship building is the key, and we 1,000%
Love that.
believe in that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even in the connections that I've made to your both of our points, when you share what some of your family issues are, if you have a sick spouse or a child, and then you meet someone who is sharing that with you, and then you find out that you have some similar experiences, that creates the trust, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you're in an arena with somebody that you have something in common with, and then you start to forge impact relationships. It's amazing.
it truly, the bond.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and look at how we've gotten to know each
Yes.
other,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and the people you've met through the organization and your story. So we have time for one last quick thought, and I'd like to ask you both what you're most excited about this year. Can be anything.
So for me, personally, I'm most excited about slowing down. I've
Okay.
been working on that, and I'm very type A, so I'm like my own worst enemy. And professionally, I'm really excited about the rollout of the 1115 Waiver Food as Medicine program, and working with more organizations to bring people healthy food, and hopefully reverse diabetes, heart disease, and help with renal and all kinds of other stuff, and to really get people healthy.
Love that.
Love that.
Leslie, what about you? What are you most excited about?
To collaborate with Angela.
Yes, I love that.
I always say to my staff, both in the commissary kitchen, the chefs, and people that work at my Bronxville shop, and in the catering, slow down to speed up.
Yes.
There you go.
So I agree with that. Slow down to speed up, and remember, everything doesn't happen at once. It happens over time, and have some grace for yourself. And we're looking to scale Ladle of Love, so opening in other places, and continue and build on the food insecure population that we help out, because, again, that is giving to that fills me up, and that's part of my plate.
Thank
Love
you
it.
both. You're so successful in your businesses, and you also both give back in really amazing and meaningful ways. And thank you for joining me today. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We could have kept going on. Love you. Bye.
The BCW connect.